Hello all. So today we are talking about Chapter 3, Physical Activity in Our Society, primarily the wellness movement. So in 1947, the World Health Organization defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. The WHO definition offered a broader, multidimensional perspective of health than the traditional freedom from illness approach. In the latter part of the 20th century, the holistic approach to health grew in popularity. Holistic health focuses on the whole person and encompasses the intellectual and spiritual dimensions of health in addition to the physical, mental, and social dimensions included in the WHO definition. From the holistic point of view, individuals who are healthy have achieved a high level of wellness. Wellness is a state of optimal health and well-being. It is a living life to the fullest and striving to achieve one's potential as a person. It is a state of being in which the individual's physical, emotional, social, mental, spiritual, and environmental aspects of health are in balance. Wellness emphasizes individuals taking responsibility for their health and understanding how the choices they make impact their well-being. Many lifestyle choices we make, whether smoking tobacco or working out on a regular basis, influence our health and well-being, both on a daily scale and across our lifespan. However, while focusing on individual responsibility, the wellness approach to health recognizes that a multitude of forces, societal, genetic, environmental, and personal, interact to affect one's health. Living conditions, heredity, and societal conditions such as poverty, access to education, and discrimination exert a significant influence on one's well-being. So this is the wellness wheel, and it includes many of the things we just talked about: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, and environmental health. We're going to talk about each of those here. So physical refers to how one's body functions. It's freedom from disease, being active on a regular basis, following sound nutritional practices, and maintaining a healthy body weight, as well as getting sufficient sleep. The emotional aspect enhances well-being through acceptance of one's feelings, appropriately expressing a wide range of emotions, and effectively managing stress. The social aspect emphasizes developing of interpersonal skills and healthy, fulfilling relationships, as well as contributing to the welfare of others and one's community. While the mental aspect is characterized by sound decision-making skills, intellectual growth, and high self-esteem. And still the spiritual reflects a sense of purpose in life and living life in accordance to one's beliefs and values. That does not necessarily mean religious values. And the environmental aspects encompass where an individual lives and works, and includes the amount of noise, level of pollution, availability of safe places to walk, and type of housing. In the 20th century, there was a gradual epidemiologic transition from infectious to chronic diseases as the leading cause of death. In 1900, the leading cause of death were influenza, pneumonia, tuberculosis, and gastrointestinal problems, or diarrhea. Life expectancy was 47.3 years. Half a century later, in 1950, life expectancy had drastically increased to 68 years due to the development of antibiotics, the availability of vaccines, and improvement in housing, sanitation, food and water supplies, and diet. In 2013, average life expectancy was 78.8 years. Currently, the leading cause of death are chronic diseases, specifically heart disease, cancer, and stroke. As the epidemiologic shift from infectious to chronic diseases occurred, the role of risk factors in disease occurrence and early mortality received greater attention because those factors increase the likelihood of disease and health problems. Risk factors can be categorized as non-modifiable and modifiable. Non-modifiable risk factors are age, gender, race, ethnicity, and heredity. Modifiable risk factors include smoking, physical activity, diet, obesity, sun exposure, and alcohol use, to name a few. Modifiable risk factors are controllable. By the choices we make and the habits we develop, we can influence our health and longevity. More and more evidence shows that an individual's lifestyle influences the occurrence of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, or diabetes. In the United States, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, reports that chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, primarily heart disease and stroke, cancer, and diabetes are among the most prevalent, costly, and preventable of all health problems. Chronic diseases account for about 70% of deaths and approximately 75% of healthcare costs each year. More than 1.7 million American deaths each year, or 7 out of every 10, are from chronic disease. Millions more people suffer due to disability and pain associated with chronic disease, which affects their quality of life. Additionally, 1 in every 4 Americans experiences major limitations in activity due to chronic disabling conditions. 2 of the most prevalent chronic diseases are cardiovascular disease and cancer, the number 1 and number 2 causes of death in the United States. Cardiovascular disease, which includes coronary and congestive heart disease, stroke, and hypertensive disease, is the number 1 killer of males and females in the United States. In 2015, over 614,000 people died from heart disease. Physical inactivity, poor nutrition, obesity, and tobacco and alcohol use contribute to cardiovascular disease. Sedentary people have nearly twice the risk of cardiovascular disease as those who are active. Smokers have twice as much risk of cardiovascular disease as non-smokers. Although the risk for inactivity and smoking are similar, the prevalence of inactivity in our nation is greater than the incidence of smoking. Cancer is the number 2 cause of death in the United States. And according to the American Cancer Society, many of the 591,000 cancer deaths are related to poor nutrition, physical inactivity, overweight, and obesity, and other lifestyle factors. The top 4 modifiable causes of death in the United States are lack of physical activity, poor nutrition, tobacco use, and excessive alcohol consumption. Addressing these modifiable risk factors will lead to improvement in the health of the nation. Women have a longer life expectancy than men, about 81.1 years compared to men of 76.3. And 30% of the gap between men and women, and about 40% of that between women, is attributable to cardiovascular disease and its effects. The death rate for heart disease for African Americans is more than 40% higher than it is for whites, and the death rate from cancer is more than 30% higher than it is for whites. Hispanics have higher rates of blood pressure and are almost twice as likely to die from diabetes as non-Hispanic whites. Activity limitation caused by chronic disease occurs 3 times more frequently among people whose income is low than among people with higher incomes. The overall death rate for adults with less than 12 years of education is more than twice the death rate for those with 13 or more years of education. People with disabilities have lower rates of vitality and physical activity and higher rates of obesity compared to people without disabilities. Rural populations are less likely to exercise regularly and experience higher rates of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and injury-related deaths than people living in urban areas. Gay men experience health issues such as HIV and AIDS, substance abuse, depression, and suicide at a higher rate than their heterosexual peers. Currently, the world is in the midst of an obesity crisis, as 18% of the adult population worldwide is obese. 1 out of every 3 adults in Mexico New Zealand, and the United States is obese, whereas 1 out of every 4 is obese in Australia, Canada, Chile, and Hungary. In the United States, the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, or NHANES, conducted periodically since 1960, tracks the prevalence of overweight and obese youths and adults. The NHANES results indicate that overweight and obesity among adults have risen to an all-time high. In 2011 and 2012, 34.9% of adults were obese in the United States, which is a dramatic increase from the 1970s when 14.6% of adults were obese. These statistics signify the incline in obesity over the past 30 years, particularly the staggering increase in the proportion of obese adults, which has more than doubled. Obesity among children and adults has also reached a record high, about 17%. In 2011-2012, it was estimated that 8.4% of children aged 2 to 5 years of age and 17.7% of children aged 6 to 11 and 20.5% of adolescents aged 12 to 19 were obese. The biggest and most concerning change that has occurred with children at adolescent weight is that in 2003 and 2004, the results were based on overweight. However, the staggering numbers reported above demonstrate a significant increase in obese children and adolescents. And here in Nueces County, you could see this was taken by the State of Obesity Organization, 34.8% of obesity in the state of Texas. We are the top 10 heaviest population in the United States. There are 40 states that have reported decrease in obesity rates in 2019. However, in Nueces County, the average weight of a male is about 234 pounds. For females, it's 193 pounds. And the average BMI, or body mass index, is 34.9% in Nueces County for males, for the average male. For the average female, it's about 33.3%. And 73 pounds amount of weight the average Nueces County resident needs to lose. So they need to lose about 73 pounds, which is the highest in the state. And so on average, we are about 24% higher than the national average. And you can see that the average American needs to lose about 59 pounds versus the 73 pounds here in Nueces County. So we really have an issue here in Nueces County. Obesity presents serious health risks to individuals and has been linked to increased mortality. This is becoming more apparent as 80% of overweight and obese children and adolescents are becoming overweight and obese adults. Attainment of the health goals of the nation requires that efforts be made to address the obesity crisis. The National Institutes of Health states that even a small weight loss of 5 to 15% of body weight can improve health and quality of life. For a person who weighs 200, losing 200 pounds, losing 10 to 30 pounds can decrease the chance of heart disease, reduce the risk of having a stroke, and lessen the likelihood of type 2 diabetes. As the rate of obesity continues to rise, so do the prevalence of chronic, degenerative, and hypokinetic diseases. Although it is very important to educate those individuals who are already overweight and obese, it is even more important to educate our nation in regard to health promotion and disease prevention. Health promotion and disease prevention efforts have the potential to significantly constrain the enormous and rapidly escalating cost of healthcare in the United States. In 1999, healthcare expenditures totaled $1.2 trillion and consumed over 13% of the United States gross national product, or GNP, more than any other industrialized nation. In 2008, just 9 years later, costs had risen to $2.3 trillion, or 16.2% of the GNP. And most recently, in 2014, healthcare cost expenditures reached $3 trillion. Globally, physical inactivity costs were 15% of the medical and non-medical yearly costs of the main non-communicable diseases in China and $13.8 billion in Australia. Spiraling healthcare costs are a major concern of U.S. businesses. Illness and premature employee death cost American industry billions of dollars a year. Poor health and fitness contribute to decreased productivity and increased absenteeism. Premiums for medical insurance continue to rise. The growing healthcare costs and the realization of the benefits to be gained through health promotion and fitness programs have led many corporations to establish programs for their employees. Corporations have found that medical costs and absenteeism drop and productivity increases after the introduction of a health promotion program. A focused effort is needed if the Healthy People 2020 objectives and the Surgeon General's vision for a healthy and fit nation recommendations are to be met. Americans show limited progress in achieving previous goals, objectives, and recommendations suggested by Healthy People and calls to action from the nation's administration. As you'll see in this next section on physical activity and fitness, too many people of all ages are inactive, fail to achieve the recommended amount of regular physical activity, and make unhealthy food choices, and are overweight or obese. This is cause for great concern as we continue in the second decade of the 21st century. The wellness movement encourages people to make lifestyle decisions that will enhance their health and well-being. An increased emphasis on health promotion and disease prevention has led to some improvement in the health of our nation. People are aware that the manner in which they live and their personal choices significantly impact their health and quality of life. Additionally, there is a greater understanding of how the environment, society, and economic status influence people's health and quality of life. Elimination of disparities in health and ultimately in lifespan is one of the nation's top health priorities. Physical education, exercise science, and sport programs in both school and non-school settings provide an avenue for people of all ages to be active and to acquire the skills, knowledge, and values conducive to leading a physically active lifestyle. If the health of the nation is to be improved, effective use must be made of school health and physical education programs. The schools provide an efficient means to reach over 50 million students a year. As professionals, we must be strong, passionate spokespeople on behalf of physical education and sport. The decline in the number of children participating in daily physical education must be reversed. Quality programs are critical to this effort. The inclusion of physical education as an integral component of a comprehensive school physical activity program is another approach to increasing physical education programs. During these impressionable years, much can be done by schools and parents working together to lay the groundwork for healthy living as an adult. The school setting offers a means to reach adults. Over 5 million adults are employed by the schools in both instructional and non-instructional positions. More schools are offering worksite health promotion programs similar to those found in corporations to their employees. These programs are often encompass fitness promotion, skill development, and health education. The use of a school as a community center has not reached its full potential. Although more schools are opening their doors to the community during evening hours on the weekend and during the summer, many schools remain unused and others underutilized. The use of the school as a community center would enable us to reach adults and offer a diversity of programs to meet their needs. Moreover, school-based adult programs offer a means to bring physical activity and sport experiences to adults who lack the financial resources to join a fitness club or do not have a program at their work site. They provide an avenue to reach all people within the community. Programs can be designed to focus on the needs of people of all ages, ranging from young adults to the older adults at a minimal cost. Other programs can be started that foster family participation, emphasizing children and parents participating in activities together. Worksite health promotion programs have grown tremendously. Many worksite programs have increased their scope of offerings from just a fitness program to include an array of different activities. Programs vary but include Fitness programs, recreation activities, and a health promotion program such as cancer and hypertension screening, nutritional counseling, and smoking cessation. Another change is that businesses have moved from viewing these programs as the perks of upper management to making these programs available to employees at all levels. This growth of programs has led to an increase in career opportunities in this sector. Commercial fitness clubs and community agency programs such as those at the YMCA are growing. Additionally, they have expanded the population served. Although these programs were initially targeted toward adults, they are now reaching out to the elderly and preschool children. These programs provide instruction and skills, encourage the development of fitness, offer education, and strive to promote regular participation. And here you see 2016, the National Physical Activity Plan and the categories that are associated. And there are different strategies for each one of these different categories that go into what they need to do. And it's outlined a little better in the text itself. So what role should professionals in physical education, exercise science, and sport take in promoting health and achieving national public health goals? The public health focus on health promotion and disease prevention presents a tremendous opportunity for professionals to increase their contributions to the health and welfare of all people. One way to accomplish this is for professionals to have the knowledge of which interventions are most effective so they can continue to help policymakers in physical activity and health professionals use their community resources most effectively to reach national physical activity goals and objectives. Thank you all. Look forward to talking to you again. We'll be talking about part 3, which is more along the lines of physical activity movement. Take care. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.